All right, let's start up by saying Barakatah Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Bashem Rakakodash. Welcome to part two of How Had the Golden City Ceased. Salaki brothers had to put it on pause or stop the other stream because I had that lemon ginger blast, so I had to use the bathroom. So Salaki for that. I'm just trying to make sure that this it's saying it's live, so I want to make sure that it's going. Yep. Okay. It's saying that it's live, but I don't see it. I don't know if brothers could hear me or not. It's saying that I'm live, but for some reason I can't find the page. Okay. It's saying that I'm live. Okay, cool. I got it now. All right, so like I said, Salaki brothers for that. I had to use the bathroom real quick. That lemon ginger blast kind of goes through you. So, all right, so now let's go back. It says Proverbs 22:7, to the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. And these devils know this very well, because Eustace Mullins, which is a historian, he said that these international bankers, they're not really wise, but what they do is they use a formula that works, and they just keep repeating it over and over and over again. Because if it works, why change it? So they're not really that prolific. They just have looked at different things in the past that have worked for other nations, and they just keep using the same formula over and over again. And they pretty much have the people backed in the corner. And this is why back in 1913, actually 1910, they wanted to set up the Federal Reserve, because they knew that the first two central banks that they set up didn't last because they had 20-year charters, and after each charter they refused to renew it. So that's why when they set this one up, they had to set it up under different guise, because the scriptures say that the serpent is more subtle than any beast of the field, and that represents Esau today. So what they did was they made it to look like it was a governmental entity by putting the word federal in it, but it's not a governmental entity, because as Elder Pastor told you, brothers, that you should look up a bank of issue, and America has the ability, according to the so-called Constitution, to print money. But the problem is that they have the Federal Reserve, that's doing it for them. Definition of a bank of issue: a bank authorized by law to issue banknotes, such as the Bank of England or the U.S. Federal Reserve Banks. But it's not no Federal Reserve Bank, because they already have a bank of issue. Let's see. Well, you know what? I take that back. That's what they do. They are the ones that are issuing the currency. But when you check the Constitution, they have the ability. The government has the ability to actually issue this money. So Salakia on that. They have the ability to issue this money, because it tells you that neither gold nor silver, or it says gold or silver shall be used. I can't really remember the actual quote, but basically the money that they were supposed to put out there was supposed to be minted in coins, either gold or silver coins, and that's not what they're doing here in this system. They're going contrary to what they had set up. All right, and that's why they have the so-called Federal Reserve, that is issuing these dollars that are worthless. They're known as fiat money. And what they're doing is, instead of helping, what they're doing is they're putting people more and more debt. That's why it says the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. And that's why the GDP, or the gross domestic product, is greater, is less than the actual debt that they owe. And that was all done by design, because remember, the ultimate thing that they want to do is what? They want to chip the whole world. And what better way to chip the whole world and make them slaves than by making them into debt slaves? All right, and you can look that term up. All right, so let's see what we got. So let's go back to Jeremiah 51:13. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, which is where they're doing their merchandising from. Abundant in treasures, thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. So like I said, this was a scripture that the brother had posted, on here, that the brother GMS Korab had posted. And that's a beautiful scripture, because that tells you that America pretty much is finished, and it's done economically, but this is all done by prophecy. Why is that? Because let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 4 and verse 17. It says, this matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the bases of men. And this is why you have the Edomite, which are the cavemen of the earth, ruling, the earth, the basis of men. Why? Because the Most High set them up, to rule. And that shows you that the Most High has a sense of humor. But above that, it's prophecy. There was a set time for each kingdom to rule. This is what the visions in Daniel, the 2nd chapter, were about. The book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, were about. The books in Revelation. This was an empire that was going to be set up for a certain period of time and then be taken down. And the Lord is systematically tearing this place apart, economically, morally, infrastructure wise. It's all falling apart. They still have a strong military, but these other nations are getting the technology that they have, therefore making those nations stronger also, to where America just can't roll on them. And then they're making leagues, with each other, to make the combination of those different militaries even stronger, to fight against Babylon the Great, which is America. And the nation of Israel over there, that land over there, those ratas over there, they're going to be the ones that's going to cause America to be brought into this third world's war, because the scripture said that the least of the flock shall draw them out. So now it says, the Lord hath broken the staff of the scepter, back in Isaiah 14:5. The Lord hath broken the staff of the scepter, and the staff of the wicked, and the scepter of the rulers. So pretty much the Lord has broken this devil's power. But when you have a kingdom that rules, the kingdom doesn't just go down overnight. I mean, it can in certain cases, but for the most part, it takes a while for those kingdoms to fall. They start to become decayed. They start to have wars. They start losing wars. Their economy starts to perish and fall apart. And eventually what happens is that kingdom ceases to exist, just like the ancient Roman Empire ceased to exist for a certain period of time. All right. And why? Because that was the end of that age, and the Most High, yeah, right, esas cucarachas, those roaches, the Most High set it up that way. And the disciples asked Yahushua when would be the end of that age, so the end of the Roman age happened back then, almost 2,000 years ago, or about 2,000 years ago. And now it's come back in the revival as America and the European Union nations that are in league with America, and it's about to go down again. So ancient America is not really going to go down like ancient Rome, because it's going to go down worse than ancient Rome. But all of the parallels that made ancient Rome fall are happening right now. America's got the same symptoms as ancient Rome before they fell, and you see it happening. But what's happening is this media has the people believing that the economy's strong and that everything is coming back together, and it's not. It's just smoke and mirrors. All right. Let me see the brother Ecclesiasticus 10:4. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, beautiful, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. Yeah, because this society, the Lord promised that a new kingdom would be established, and that new kingdom being a kingdom that's ruled in righteousness, being ruled beginning with Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, and then the Israelites. And that's why the Lord is going to set up one over it that is profitable. All right. So now it says, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nation in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. So now they're starting to feel the persecution that they've been pushing upon the other nations on a small scale. And eventually it's going to get worse. Yep, that's another good one, brother put up. Ecclesiastes 10 and 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. And that's what's happening. It's going to be a translation of wealth from the filthy rich today, which is the international bankers and these other nations that are high up. It's going to be, the riches are going to be transferred back to us, the nation of Israel. All right. So now let's go from there to, let's go to Genesis 42. Now we're going to deal with the word traffic, because we read, let's see, do I still have it up? Exact merchant. I think I had it here. Let me move this here so I can know where we're at. Let me see. Yep, traffic definition. Vehicles on road or public highway, the messages or signals transmitted, deal or trade. And it's just pretty much deal or trade. It doesn't necessarily have to be something illegal. It could be illegal. But traffic is basically a road where really the term traffic is a commercial term. And the traffic is something that's used to make money. All right. And these nations that have their riches here in America, when the riches get here from them shipyards, they have to be transported by truck. And these trucks use what? The interstates to bring forth these goods all across America. That is the true definition of traffic. It could be something legal or it could be something illegal, but it doesn't necessarily have to be something illegal. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back, way back into time. A little inside joke. But now we're going to go back to the book of Genesis when Joseph was in charge, was the head underneath the Pharaoh in Egypt. And pretty much, he was in charge of the commerce of that of the Egyptians back then. Because he was like the treasurer, like one of the top men back there underneath the Pharaoh. And he was officiating the business. And when you read about how the Egyptians came to him, he pretty much eventually enslaved the Egyptians to who? To the Pharaoh. Because they ran out of money. They ran out of cattle. Then they sold their land and themselves. See, so they became tributary and pretty much perpetual slaves until they were able to pay off that debt to the Pharaoh. And right now, the modern day Pharaoh being Esau, he has put the whole world in debt under this world reserve currency called the dollar, which is not really money. It's fiat money. It has the semblance of money, but it's not. And the main power that it has is the belief that the people have in it, and the petrol, which is the oil that they have, because it's they're known as petrol dollars. Salaki for 1 second. Okay, so let's read Genesis 42 and 29. And they came unto Jacob their father unto the land of Canaan, and told him all that befell unto them, saying, now this is the sons of Jacob, Joseph's brother, that came back because the father sent them into the land of Egypt because he heard that there was corn there. So they went there to buy because there was a great dearth or a great famine in all the surrounding lands. It says, the man who is the Lord of the land spake roughly to us. They were speaking about Joseph because at this time they didn't know that it was their brother Joseph. Because remember, he had to shave, and plus when they sold him, he was a young man. He was very young. It says, and took us for spies for the country, because he was really messing with them. And we said unto him, we are true men, we are no spies. We be 12 brethren, sons of our father. One is not, which is dealing with Joseph, and the youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan, which was Benjamin. And the man, the Lord of the country, said unto us, hereby shall I know that you are true men. Leave one of your brethren here with me, and take food for the famine of your household, and be gone. And bring your youngest brother unto me, then shall I know that ye are no spies, but that you are true men. So will I deliver you your brother, and you shall what? Traffic in the land. So now let's look up this word traffic. You shall traffic in the land. The word for traffic is sachar. Sachar. To go around, go about, travel about in, go about and trade. See? So now what do? When you go downtown areas, when you go to shopping malls, right? Let's see, we got right here. What do? You're walking around. You got money in your pocket. You know, you're walking around. You might get hungry. You go to a restaurant. You might be looking for a new pair of kicks or some slacks or some jeans or whatever the case. You get a shirt, and you're walking around in these different downtown areas or merchant cities or the agora, which is the marketplace, to do what? To buy and sell. And you're going about. And how did that merchandise? See, one thing that people don't understand is they go to the store and they see the stuff in the store. Well, the stuff has to be brought to the store. You have to have material to build these things. You see? So it's a big process to get from the idea first to the getting the components of the product, putting the product together, packaging it, and sending it out by ships to trucks to stores. It's a big process, but people don't look at that because they're looking at the convenience of them walking in the store and just seeing what they want and picking it out. They don't see everything that's involved in it. And you may have different companies that create different things, and they have to sell to each other, to a manufacturer that's going to take all those different components from all those different people, bring it to a particular place where they're going to have cheap labor, where people are going to put all these things together, to then ship it back to be sold. So there's a big process that's going on there. So it's a big money making scheme that they're doing. So when you do these things, you're going out here, and this is how you do traffic. When you go out there and you exchange money for goods, that's traffic. You know, so you have here Merchant City, Glasgow. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's in Scotland. You know, they have merchant cities, and they have stores all over the place. You know, and all throughout America. America's nothing but a big consuming nation. You know, and you go to to malls like this, and people are walking around, just as we read for the definition of traffic. To go around, go about, travel about, and go about and trade. And this is what has made America great, was that trade that they did and that they made. But now that they are not producing as much as they did, but consuming, their status is falling from what it used to be. So how had the golden city ceased? And eventually, when the Lord comes back, he's going to destroy this place. So it's going to be totally finished. But right now, we're in the process of them falling from their position that they had. They had the top position on the planet. Now they're dwindling. They're falling. It says to go about to and fro in business, trade, trafficker, to palpitate. All right. So it's in trade. So basically, what Joseph was telling his brothers is, when you bring your brother back, then I know you're true men. Then you can go freely and trade and go in trafficking, you know, here in this place. But other than that, I believe you guys are spies. But he was just messing with them. All right. Now, also, when you go there, let's go back to traffic, Sachar. I believe there's... Yeah, you have different scriptures. This is going back to Abraham, Genesis 23:16. And Abraham hearkened unto Ephron, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver, which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant, which goes back to the same word, Sachar. because you had to have money. You had to have something to trade for goods. And money was usually gold and silver. You had other things that were used as money, but the two main staples, I guess, for lack of better words, for money was gold and silver. All right, let's see here. Genesis 34:10, and you shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade ye therein, and get you possessions therein. You know, and this is why you have when you type in Silk Roads, you know, and trading routes. You know, these are all in. You know, and a matter of fact, let's see what comes up if we type in trading route. Trading routes. Images. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me go back. It says a trade route is a logistical network identified as a series of pathways and stoppages used for the commercial transport of cargo. The term can also be used to refer to trade over bodies of water. That's right. As such as you see here. When you go to the images, these are all different trade routes. I don't know if it's going to open up big enough, but these are all trade routes. And prior to the Panama Canal being here, you couldn't go through here. You had to sail all the way around, which took a lot longer. See, for goods to get there. So now that the Panama Canal is there, which is owned by Babylon the Great, America, the ships can come in and out. You know? And then if you look at this proves that the world is not flat. If you look at this, you have trade routes going west, see, and coming from the west back into the east, because the world is round, you know. If you're looking at it, these are trade routes. There are also airlines and and flights that take off from Cali and this side, this west coast, and go westward to get to Japan, to get to China and other places. You could also go that way. That's just, a little side note. But these are trade routes. All right. You had Silk Roads. Just type in Silk Roads. Silk Road trade routes. You see, you have them all through here. These are all the old trade routes. You had sea, which is in blue. You had land, which is in red. And you would have thieves in certain parts of this land to rob the caravans that were going through. So this is all what America's doing right now. This is the land of traffic. Let's go right quick to Ezekiel 17:1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, put forth a riddle and speak a parable unto the house of Israel, and say, Thus saith the Lord power, a great eagle with great wings, long-winged, full of feathers, which had divers colors, came unto Lebanon, and took the highest branch of the cedar. And you could apply this to Esau today, here in America. All right, it says, he cropped off the top of his young twigs and carried it into a land of what? Traffic. He set it in a city of merchants. And when you look up this word traffic here, it's the word Canaan or Canaan, which could be lowland or it could be a merchant trader. And this is that land of traffic for the merchant traders. You have all kind of stuff going on here. And Lord's will we get to Revelation 18, where it gives you a list, a small list really, of a lot of the substance that was being sold here, and that is being sold here. And you can buy pretty much anything in America. You can buy pretty much anything in America. All right, so now let's go down to the word merchant. And the word merchant is the word rakal. Rakal. It says to go about, meaning dubious, trafficker, trader. So you have a trader. And America is that big trading city. Because a city is as big as its citizens. Because when you go to China, when you go to Africa, when you go to Europe, what do they call you? They call you an American citizen. You're a citizen of America. That's where you get the word city from. And America is a big city. It's a country, but it's also a big city. You see? And that's where a lot of people get tripped up on. All right, so now let's go from there to Ezekiel 28 and 3. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and with thine understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches. And that's what they have. They've gotten them riches by this great wisdom that they have, because they remember they have the records of the world. And they've deceived the world. It says, and has gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. Why? Because they stole everything. They stole everything. And now it's time for them to pay. And they don't want to pay. It says, by thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. And you see that right now. These devils are super proud. You know, because they feel like nothing can touch them. Like they'll never go down. When it tells you that the Most High can make a man rich overnight. And the same way he can make a man rich overnight, he can make a man a pauper overnight. You know? Let's see. Where traffic is Rakala, which is a derivative of the word we read earlier, Rakal. Now let's jump down to the 13th verse. It says, thou hast been in Eden, in the garden of the Most High. And this Esau was there as the serpent, because the serpent was an actual man. It wasn't no fucking actual snake that talked to Eve. You know, it was an actual man that was dark skinned back then, which later during Cain was stripped of his pigment and later came back as Esau. That same spirit that was in the serpent, which is an actual man, was in Cain, and it was also in Esau. And that's why when we read about the 7 heads with the 10 horns, which represents the Roman Empire and all those other empires of Esau, the Lord said that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan. Why? Because it all goes back to the serpent. That spirit that was in the serpent, or the serpent seed, came back through Cain, and then later on came back through Esau. And that is the serpent seed, the seed of the devil, the sons and daughters of the devil. It says, every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou was created. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and they are the anointed cherub that covereth. And the word anointed means they're chosen. Cherub means mighty one. And covering what? That they covered everything. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? I have set thee so. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of the Most High. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. And that's what they've done. Even to this day, they're up in there. It says, thou was perfect in thy ways from the day that thou was created till iniquity was found in thee. And when did this happen? This happened, you know, for the serpent. It also happened for Cain when he killed Abel. The Lord told him, if you do good, you know, you're going to be all right. But if not, sin lieth at the door, and to him shall be your desire. By the multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled the midst of thee with violence. You see? Because, let's go real quick to the Apocrypha. Let's see. What is that? Is that Ecclesiastes 27? Just bear with me 1 second. Because when you're dealing with trade, there's a lot of underhanded shit that goes on in that, man. You know? And that's why the Lord said that we're not supposed to do no unrighteousness in meat yard and, you know, and things of that nature. Yep, here goes. Ecclesiastes 27, and 2. As a nail sticketh fast between the joining of the stones, so doth sin stick close between buying and selling. So you have a lot of underhanded shit that goes on when you buy and you sell. You know? And that's why it says that by the multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled the midst of thee with violence. Because they have actually... Salak, I got to take this... All right, Salaki brothers, I had to take that call. Um, so going back to Ezekiel 28:16, by the multitude of thy merchandise they have filled the midst of thee with violence. Yeah, and as we read in the Apocrypha, there's a, let's go back there again. As a nail sticketh fast between the joining of the stones, so doth sin stick close between buying and selling. And this is causing a big uproar, around the world. Especially with these nations, that these devils have been dealing dirty with. And brother, you brothers could, you could look into different things that they've done, different examples. One of the that goes back to the 70s was when what's his name? Tricky Dicky. What the hell is his name? The president that stopped the Bretton Woods agreement. That he didn't want to give up the silver no more. Nixon. That's just one of them out of many, and that caused an outrage. So just imagine now, all the way in 2019, almost 2020, and thou hast sinned. Therefore, I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of the Most High, because right now they're in that place, and I will destroy the old covering cherub from the midst of the stones of fire. So now, how is the Lord first destroying these devils? By revealing them. It's going through a revelation. They're being revealed right now for not being what they say that they are. It says for being a devil. For lying and cheating and deceiving the whole world. Just trying to check something out right quick. Okay, cool. All right, so now it says, thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings that they may behold thee. And this is why it says in Isaiah 14, is this the man? Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. Let's just jump down to the point, verse 16. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? And this devil has managed in a period of about 200 years, let's see, from the 1800s, let's say about 150 years, 150 years to 200, years, he's managed to bring the earth to a brink of extinction. And that's what the Lord says, he's going to destroy them that have destroyed the earth. There's no other nation that has had that kind of power to destroy the earth as Esau has. So that doesn't fit anybody else. It says that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of the prisoners. So right now, these devils are being revealed for being the devil, for being the ones that are doing all these things. And everything is leading back to them. The nations are finding out that it's not a good deal when you get down with Esau. They're figuring that out the hard way, and that's why now they got to backtrack, because their society and their system is in jeopardy because they trusted in the devil. So that's why now they're opting to get out of the dollar. Let's see. It says, all the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, every one in his own house. Because in the kingdom, after these nations serve their captivity, they're going to be doing pretty good. It says, but thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with the sword that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. Because that's your end. The end of you is to be totally burnt up and destroyed. But these nations, they're going to still have their land. They're still going to have rule among themselves, but they're going to be tributary to us. All right? Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial. Why? Because we're not going to have to bury these devils, because they're going to be burnt after they serve their captivity. Because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people, the seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. And you're never going to hear about another Christopher Columbus setting up this land and that land and destroying and killing people, because they're going to be done away with. Now it was said years ago by High Priest Ariel that the spirit of Esau will come in among the other dark nations. That remains to be seen. It makes sense, because you can't destroy a spirit. You know, but as far as them ruling as a people, they will never do that again, ever. That's a good one, bro. Um, Ecclesiastes 11:21. Marvel not at the works of sinners, but trust in the Lord and abide in thy labor, for it is an easy thing in the sight of the Lord on a sudden to make a poor man richer. Yep, that's right. And in Micah 2:1, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And they have mastered that power. And they have used that power. You know, and they have abused that power. And now they have to pay for the abusing of that power. Because they mess with the children of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. And now they got to pay for that. Doesn't it say in the scriptures that he reproved many kings for the sake of Israel? So you think that this time around this devil is not going to be reproved, you know, for his wickedness? Let's go to Jeremiah real quick, 49 and 12. It says, "For thus saith the Lord power, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken." That's dealing with Israel. We weren't supposed to drink of that cup. Why? Because we were royalty. We were the sons and daughters of the Most High. But we actually drank it because we disobeyed the Lord. And now thou, he that shall altogether go unpunished, thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. And they're going to pay. They don't want to pay among themselves. They don't want to make themselves pay, you know. And you can't really blame them. But the Lord is going to make them pay. Nahum 1:3. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power and will not at all acquit the wicked. You know, and this, as we read earlier in the book of Ezekiel, what was it, the 28th chapter, yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought on that, but you know what? Pretty much they're gonna pay. You know, with all this, with all of the stuff that they're pushing out there. You know, and let me read this one more precept, and get this other scripture. Maybe I'll read a couple more depending on the spirit. Let's go to the book of Zephaniah 1, and we'll start at 10. It says, "And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that there shall be a noise of a cry from the fish gate." Why? Because these fishermen are going to be catching hell. You know, the waters are polluted. You know, they've fished the hell out them waters. You know, people are consuming food at an exponential rate, a phenomenal rate. I was reading a cover story of that there are not enough pigs on the earth to fill the void of China, because they got a pig shortage. You know, because they tearing up that pig, you know, at a phenomenal rate. So they don't have enough pigs to go around to fill that void, just in dealing with China. All right. So now it says, "And an howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills." And when you see these things, people are going to be nervous, because they depend on you know, their business doing well, so that they can pay their bills, have food on the table, pay for, you know, for clothing and for their children and all that. And people are going to start panicking, because what they're seeing is the effects of inflation. When you have a currency that's not a good currency, that's a fiat currency, you start to see the effects later on. And that's why people are in so much debt. You know, that they can't get out that debt no matter how much they try, because they're taking one credit card to pay off another credit card to pay off another credit card, but yet still in all, you're still in debt. Because really, technically, you can't pay a debt with a debt, because you're always going to be chasing that debt. But if you were to pay it off, then that'll be done. Then you got to move on to the next one. But you can't do it if you constantly paying a debt with a debt. Ecclesiastes 12 and 2. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. Now, who are the keepers of the house? The stockholders. No, not the stockholders, the brokers. You know, they're going to be trembling because they can actually see, like we might look at the chart of the New York Stock Exchange, right? And it'll be like Chinese to us, you know, or Greek. You know, we don't really understand it, but you have these people that are brokers, and they're all into that, and they understand what every point and dot and number and all that means. So when they see shit that's not going well, they're going to be panicking. And that's why there's been instances where you have stockbrokers or brokers and different people that own certain stocks on Wall Street, you know, that have committed suicide because they lost their life savings. It says, and the strong men shall bow themselves. Why? Because they're going to be, you know, they're going to be like, oh, Lord, oh, no, you know, because they're going to lose everything. It says, and the grinders cease because they are few. And those that look out of the windows are darkened. So these people that don't have a clue of what's really going on, they're going to be looking and say, damn, it's going to seem like all hope is lost. And it is for them. You know? It says, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. And you see that happening here in America right now. You have a lot of businesses that are shutting down. Malls are shutting down. You know, even businesses that deal with computers and all that, because they have to keep cutting back, because they keep outsourcing the job somewhere else, because the price of living is skyrocketing because the dollar is being devalued. So in order for them to make up for that, they got to cut off 500 employees, 1,000 employees, 2,500 employees, 5,000 employees, so on and so forth, and take their resources and take them outside of America, go to, you know, China or Taiwan or, you know, another them countries to make their product cheaper and send it back here so that they can stay afloat. And that's why it says we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. You can't there's nothing you could do to help revive this country, because the Most High is about to take it down. Now what you see is a semblance of them. They got it all together, and Trump's talking shit and talking about the economy is good and this, that, and the other, but it's really not. Because when you peel back a light layer of it, you start to really see the truth. You start to see the rust and the corrosion and the worms and the shit that's falling apart. Because the Lord is judging this place. It says, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. And that's why music today is crap. Because this place is winding down, circling the drain. You know? And the economy is what is one of the main things that keeps a country afloat, because you need the money in order to pay for goods. You need the money in order to pay your military to go around and keep an eye on all your goods, all your resources. And if you can't pay them, what you think is going to happen? They're not going to work for free. And this is what happened to the ancient Roman Empire. They had to keep devaluing the money so that they can keep up with the cost of demand, or the demand of cost, or however you say that. You know? And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. And that's what you see happening right now. And that's why in Revelation 18, when you read further down, it says, let's see, right here. I started at Revelation 18 and 20. So when we see all these things happening, we're supposed to rejoice, because that means that we're at the very end of this devil falling apart. Let's see. Shalom El Apostle Wa'akim. The pigs shortage is pork price soars as millions of pigs died due to African swine fever. It is said that around 500 plus million. Yeah, well, that's good. You know, So it says, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High hath avenged you on her. Yeah, because they're not supposed to be eating that garbage. But when we see these things happening, we're supposed to be happy. Then Yahweh Shai said, look up, for your redemption draweth nigh. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Why? Because they set up this country by violence. They've policed the world by violence. You know? Peacekeeping force. Big joke. And it's not just mainly the Israelites they did it to here in America, but also around the world. It says, and the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and the trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. Why? Because the current downgrading, so to speak, of this music and the degeneration of this music and how it's going down the drain is an indication of America going down also. She's going down economically. She's going down militarily, eventually, and on all levels. Musically, it says, and no craftsman or of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. Yeah, because you have craftsmen here. You have carpenters, and you have, you know, people that make furniture and on different areas, cars and all of that. But they're not going to be heard anymore or found anymore here. Why? Because this place is going to be destroyed for her greediness. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. Yeah, because there's not going to be any more marriages. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth. So now let's look up this word, merchants. And this is how these nations became rich. By selling their merchandise here in America. Because America went from being a producing nation to a consuming nation. The word there is emporos, right? And the word emporos means, that's where you get the word emporium. It means one on a journey, whether by sea or by land, especially for trade. And you see that coming here constantly. You know, these shipping containers coming here constantly on ships. See, you got the ship here with the containers. This is coming from different parts of the world. And they ship and they put stuff in here, merchandise to be sold that was made somewhere else in another country. All right. It says a merchant as opposed to a retailer or petty tradesman. Yeah, because you have a merchant. That's why you have something called wholesale. When you sell stuff wholesale, it means you have bulk of it. Here you got it right here, wholesale. You have bulks of it. But then you have the consumer that comes to buy some of it. Then you might have somebody that has a business that comes to buy a dozen or 2 dozen or 10 dozen from the wholesaler. You see? So that's what the merchant is, the one that's able to sell things at wholesale, which they can give you a break on the price because you're buying bulk. And that's what's going on here in the Me'ediga. It says, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants are the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And this nation of America has pushed witchcraft upon the planet. But people are starting to see past that. Not everybody, but you're starting to see people are starting to see past it. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that was slain upon the earth, because the Most High is going to make sure that this place pays for all that is done. Now I want to jump up a little bit. It says Revelation 18 and 15, the merchants of these things which were made rich by her, which shows that these nations are being made rich by her. And we read, which I wanted to read some more of these articles, but Spirit didn't have me do it. We read the world's largest economies, that China is number 1, the European Union is number 2, and America has dropped down to number 3 because they're ceasing. The merchants of these things which are made rich by her. How do you think China got to be the number 1 top world economy? By selling their goods here in America and around the world also, but mainly here in America. Babylon the Great. shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. Why? Because this place is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear destruction, as well as the lasers from the chariots. It says, and saying, alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. Where do we read that also? In the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, in the 4th verse, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. So it says, thou was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. You see? So all of this that they built up from the time that they came here in 1492 to steal everything and to steal this land and set everything up, now they're about to lose everything. How about that? And every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off. And we see that here. These are all the traders, the merchants, the sailors that's bringing these goods into America. And when you look up that word, which is shipmaster, let's go to shipmaster. Gubernatos is where you get the word government from. It says steersman, helmsman, sailmaster. Why? Because they were the ones that would bring the stuff here, and you have to steer it in the ships, you know, to get it here. There's certain routes that you have to go. We looked up trade routes earlier. I don't know if we still have that. Let me see. Let's go back. You still have the trade routes here, you know, and you see that they're all in the waters. So these shipmasters are going to be howling and wailing, and also the sailors. Let's see what it says for sailors. Nautus is where you get the word water. Nautica. A sailor, seaman, mariner. You know? They said they stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And although America's a piece of shit, you know, and all nations know it, where else can they sell the abundance that they sell as here in America? Where else can they get the amount of money that they've gotten, you know, around the world? There's no other place you can go to and trade as you could trade here in America, in this emporium or in this merchant city, you know, or in this agora. All right. So with that, that's been my take on it. You know, this has been part 2 to how had the golden city ceased, and there's many other aspects to it that you could go to, you know, but for now I'm gonna leave it there. You know, I pray that your brothers have been edified. Till the next time I say shalom. Place pays for all that is done. Now I want to jump up a little bit. It says Revelation 18 and 15, the merchants of these things which were made rich by her, which shows that these nations are being made rich by her. And we read, which I wanted to read some more of these articles, but Spirit didn't have me do it. We read the world's largest economies, that China is number 1, the European Union is number 2, and in America